Hey folks, Joe Morris with Answers, Heaven Speaks. I think you're probably going to hear some, I don't know, we're putting a new roof on our house next door, and so there's a bunch of guys up there, and they're all yelling and down at other people, and I don't know what's going on, to tell you the truth, but you might hear some yelling in the background, but for the most part, you're probably just going to be listening to the, oh my gosh, I forgot my headphones. Let me grab those. I don't know if you can hear me or not, to tell you the truth. Let me put these crazy things on. Should have been ready. Get them into the right place. Anyway, you should be hearing the sounds of the rushing water and the tides, because I'm still up here in my guest house while they're working on my house next door. And there's more and more people down on the beach. And let's hope this works. I hope it doesn't knock our sound out. I may have to start all over again. Anyway, we've got a bunch of people down on the beach, and so my dogs are going a little crazy. Oh, I hope I just didn't knock the sound out. You know what? I'll keep looking on here just in case somebody comes on and says, "Hey, I can't hear you. I can't hear you." Nope, we just have the regular first notification of how to get into Marisa's stuff. Marisa, my clairvoyant channeling daughter. Anyway, so we got some sounds going on. We even have a little bit of banging going on down below as well. So it's like, oh, okay, fine. Not much else I can do. You know, this is my thing. This is God's thing. He wants me to do this every day. And let's see if somebody came on and said, "Can't hear you, Joe. Can't hear you." Hey, go to, yay. Hi, Marisa Carter. Let me know if you don't hear me. Of course, you'd have to be a lip reader to know what I just said if you can't hear me. But let me know if for some reason my sound disappeared when I plugged in my my headphones. Nope, nobody else. Marisa Carter, you're good. Sounds fine. Great. Thanks, Marisa. I appreciate that. Yay, yay, yay. Gosh, I hope your weather's okay where you're at. I don't remember exactly where you live. You live in, Pennsylvania or Ohio? Tell me where you live. I forgot where you live. And we missed you when you came out to Las Vegas. I'm so sorry. We were in transition from Carlsbad back to Las Vegas at that time. But hopefully sometime in the future we'll have a chance to actually meet up. That would be really nice. Anyway, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time recapping what we've been doing over the last couple days. Those of you who watched this on Sunday, we got up to the crucifixion. And let's see if somebody else says in New Orleans. Oh my God, New Orleans. I've never been to New Orleans. That must be a fabulous place. Although I hear they're having a little bit of troubles there. They kicked Mel Gibson out of being part of the Mardi Gras this year. So I'm not even sure when that comes. They actually have Mardi Gras down here in Mexico as well. Still learning some of the customs and things, but good. I'm glad that I found out where you're at, and that you can hear me. So anyway, on Sunday we went through the crucifixion of Jesus. We had a good 2-hour show, and was going to take us on into inside the tomb, and then into the resurrection. And I thought I'd get into that on Monday and then Tuesday. But in preparing for that, I realized that inside the tomb, they started using a lot of terms in there that we're not familiar with. And what it's basically familiar with is the fact that Jesus got to skip what you and I do. When we die, we move on to what are called the Morontia worlds, Morontia, Morontia worlds. And we end up living 570 more lives. And each one of those spheres are physical that we'll live on. Granted, we'll get there probably through our soul, through, I don't know how it all works, but we certainly leave our bodies behind, but then we regroup, and we have new bodies. And those new bodies come from the materials of the spheres that we go to. Call them the mansion worlds. I think there's 7 layers of mansion worlds you have to go through to graduate. And then that's so that you can eventually become spirit yourself. You don't just die and become a spirit.
Just because you have spirit living within you, which in the terms used in the Urantia book is that spirit from the Father that lives within you and me and every other human on the earth, that is called a thought adjuster. A thought adjuster. But what it is, it's the Father's, the eternal Father's spirit that he puts in all mortals. All mortals. And then yesterday we kind of got into, well, let me back up for a second. So we're going to go through this Morantia world. Jesus got to skip that. And we're going to find that out when we find out what's happening inside the tomb. Because Michael, who decided to come down to earth and be a baby, little baby Jesus, Yeshua ben Joseph, he's special. He's the creator. And as I mentioned, different orders and different types of personalities and whatever that carry us through what we might call heaven, they were all created by Michael. They're all created in this local universe that was created by Michael. And just to recap, there are 1,000 planets that are within our system that we live in, Urantia and Earth. And then there are 100 systems that make up our constellation, which is our system is called Satania. And there's 100 different systems within the heaven of Nebadon, the universe of Nebadon. And then we are also part of a constellation. Our system is part of a constellation called Norlashadek. And each one has like headquarter worlds. Like in our system, the headquarter world is called Edentia. And in the that's in our system world. In the constellation world, lose a word. The constellation, in our constellation, Norlashadek, our headquarters world is called Jerusalem. Think of Jerusalem. Jerusalem. And then when we break out, there's 100 systems. There's 1,000 planets, inhabited planets, not just blobs of material floating around in space, but actual inhabited planets. There's 1,000. There are going to be 1,000, just to make things more complicated. In our system, all of them have 1,000. In our system, we only have 619. And we are planet number 606, not 666, which would blow my mind, but 606 in Satania. Wish I would have come up with a different name, but I don't know. You know, Satan was the sort of like the Holy Spirit of Lucifer. You know, that Trinity is Lucifer. He is the head of our entire system. And then there's Satan, who is the sort of like the Holy Spirit of the spirit of maybe call it a soul or spirit of Lucifer. And then every planet, and we'll get into that probably tomorrow. Every planet has a planetary prince, and in our planet that would be Caligastia, and Caligastia would probably be better known as the devil. What we are is we have a defaulted planet. And that's why the creator of our entire universe came down to Earth. Because not only are we an experimental world, but we defaulted too. Because Lucifer decided he was as good as God. So he's kind of going to do his own thing. And he's still doing his own thing. He's being judged, but he's now condemned. He can't move up any farther. He can't go any farther. He is now condemned. He's not only condemned to our system, Jesus says he's condemned to the center of the earth. So we learned that many lessons back when Jesus met up with Lucifer and Caligastia up on Mount Gerizim. But anyway, we're at the point now where we're trying to figure out where we go. When we die, where do we go? And we go to these other spheres, other planets. We take on physical bodies. And yet we continue with our personality and our consciousness. We'll remember everything. we'll have our consciousness. So when we leave here, we won't forget our lives here on earth, but we're also stuck with our personalities. Now, they'll work on us a little bit when we move up, and we have a lot of companions that join us. In fact, that thought adjuster that lives within you will actually appear to you. Marisa seems to think now that that's who she met when she got in the car accident and basically died. She left her body and she saw her body down in a car, which was filling up with water after she had a seizure. And she met somebody that looked just like her, but very big, very big. And so Marisa thinks that was probably her thought adjuster who had separated. So we'll get to meet that spirit that lives within you, within me, what inside you, the spirit of the Father that lives within you, has your plan that you're supposed to be following every day. Do the will of the Father. Do the will of the Father. What you're doing is you're turning your will over so that the spirit that lives within you guides your soul, tells you what to do, where to go, how to bring happiness into your life. If you don't turn on the computer, it's not going to work. If you don't turn over your will, you're going to be guided by the angels that have been assigned to you, and they know what your plan is, and so they're going to try to keep you out of trouble and try to get you into a more state of happiness and joy. And that's another thing we're going to learn today is humor. Humor, how important humor is. I mean, now we can't have humor on our earth right now, at least in the United States. If we say anything that's humorous, it's like, oh, you're a racist. It's like, what? Come on. It's a funny. We're supposed to have humor in our lives. And when we move on, there's going to be humor, and it's important. It's important. Being full of joy, happiness, and humor. So anyway, let's get into this. Let's continue on with the Morancha world, and then we'll continue where we left off yesterday, probably tomorrow. And that's to give you some idea of all the planets all over the place. And not so much the planets as the mortal beings that live on those planets. Some are one-brained, one or two-brained. We're two-brained people. And I guess they consider the two cortexes of the brain as two-brained. One for basically learning, use of the mind and whatever, and the other one is for spirituality. So probably most of us don't use that spiritual side of our brain. But we are two-brained, and then there are three-brained mortals as well on much higher developed planets somewhere out there in the cosmos somewhere. But anyway, we're going to go back. We'll get back into that a little bit more tomorrow, and then I'm planning on Sunday we'll get into the tomb, and we'll actually have the resurrection of Jesus. And but it's kind of nice to know this because it's going to come up. It's going to come up, and you're going to go, oh, what's he talking about? So what we do is when we go to heaven, we become Morancha figures. We become rebuilt bodies. And basically still looking much like ourselves. It's just that they're going to use the materials of whatever that world is. And the Morancha worlds have exactly double the elements of the Earth. The Earth has, I don't know how many they have, 50? I don't know what it is. I don't remember chemistry because I never took it. I went from biology to physics, and I don't know how I got out of high school without doing chemistry. But go to your chemistry table of elements or whatever. Double that, and that's what you find in the beauty of the next spheres that we go to. I mean, it's indescribable. Double the colors, double this, double that. It's going to be magnificent. But don't be in a hurry, because we don't want to get caught in purgatory. You take your life, you're stuck in purgatory. You may be stuck there until a dispensation comes. And we'll get into dispensations a little bit tomorrow. I really wasn't into dispensation. I go, oh, that's a bunch of hooey. Because we know just from people who die and then they come back, they tell about what happens on the other side. They meet their mother or their father, or they meet Jesus on the other side. Well, that's just a small, tiny little step, because then you have to go into the resurrection halls after that first Passover. But there are people who just people who just don't get very far in their development, even people who don't even, children who do not receive yet the Spirit of the Father, which comes along about the age of 6 or 7. Up till then, the angels just guide the children. They just guide the children, and they use what mind they have. But they're not being guided by the Father yet, not until they're about 6 or 7. And if a child dies, they go to a special place, and it has to wait for a dispensation period to come along. And then they are graduated. They're graduated up into the Morancha realms, and that is when the Father comes into them. So, just worst thing on the world is to lose a child, but they're very much taken care of. They're very much taken care of. But they have to learn. They have to grow just like we're learning down here on earth. They'll just do it on a different sphere. That's all. And you'll always have the connection. When you move on to your next place in your spheres or whatever in the Morancha world, you're going to join up with members of your soul family, and they travel with you. Sometimes not always with you. They're off to other places, a lot of places to go, a lot of progressions. You'll have 570 lives, 570 more lives. And we were talking to Peter yesterday, and Marisa was channeling Peter at the end of the show yesterday. And I said, well, Peter must still be in the Morancha world. He's not spirit yet, is he? Has he graduated? And he said, no, he's only lived 233 lives. So Peter, our Peter from the Bible, has lived 233 Morancha lives. Now, maybe he had already lived Morancha lives, because I think that Earth might be considered like a, maybe part of the Morancha life. We don't know that. It's three-dimensional. And maybe because it's been taken over by Lucifer, it's a soul's chance to come down with great knowledge, and experience this hell, even though it's beautiful. I mean, the earth is beautiful. I'm looking out on a beautiful ocean right now, and mountains and streams, and it's just beautiful weather. It's beautiful on Earth. Earth is beautiful. It's just humans muck it all up, and they screw it up. And so I'm not sure. We'll have to ask Peter if the Earth became another one of his ascension worlds he had to go to just to learn something new. And we'll learn something new everywhere we go. So anyway, let's get into it a little bit. Let me use these for a while, and then when they start reflecting in my eyes, I'll take them back off. So the Morancha world has its own recorders. Now keep in mind, Michael created everything, absolutely everything. And he has created a huge administration and an enormous administration. And so we have receivers, and we have companions, we have all this stuff, and they were all created by Christ. Some of them are transitional. Some actually will transition into a spirit life, but really it's humans. It's mortals that God has created so that he could put souls in them, and he could put his spirit inside them, so that they can grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow until you leave. Well, let's see, what was it again? Edentia is the headquarters of our system. Keep in mind, there's 100 systems in just our. Why do I forget the word? Constellation. 100 systems in our constellation, but there's 100 constellations in the local universe that was created by Christ. And so in the constellation, I think it is, let's see, there's Edentia, there's Gerisum. Gerisum is at the constellation level. And then there's Salvington, which is the headquarters for our local universe. And just think of the Milky Way. Milky Way only has 88 constellations that we know of. So Christ Michael, Jesus, had created 100 constellations to make up his local universe. So there's probably another smaller galaxy out there that is also a part of the local universe, and not just the Milky Way. But when you think of heaven, think of the Milky Way. And I think I got it wrong. I think it's 250,000 light years across. I think I said 250,000 million. That would be 2.5 billion light years across. But our galaxy is 250,000 light years. Light years. Light travels at what, 182 miles per second? Per second, I think. 182,000 miles per second, I think it is. Yeah, because we've got 182,000 miles per second. I think we'll learn either tomorrow or today that Earth is constantly being bombarded by meteors, but we have this protective bubble around us. Think of a snow globe around our Earth, just as we all have snow globes. If we turn our will over to the Father, it puts that armor of God around you and call it a snow globe. Well, we've got a snow globe around our Earth right now, and we're pretty well protected from all the asteroids and things that are coming in. Some do get through. I think they say that we have something like 1 million asteroids. A million. It could be small pieces of rock. 1 million every day. And they travel at 200 miles per second. That's pretty quick. They're moving kind of fast. Anyway, let's get back into the story here of the Morontia world. The Morontia world has its own recorders. Come on, computer. Let's see if we get this thing working. The Morontia world has its own recorders who serve in association with the spirit recorders in the supervision and custody of the records and other data indigenous to the Morontia creations. This may just go, some of this may just go, but hang in there. The Morontia records are available to all orders of personalities. You have a personality, I got a personality. The Morontia records are available to all orders of personalities. Is that the Akashic records? I think that was something that Akashic records that a lot of spiritual people talk about. All Morontia transition realms are accessible alike to material and spirit beings. As Morontia progressors, you and me, will remain in full contact with the material, the physical. We actually will be physical again. The material world and with material personalities. Actually, we keep our personalities. Hi, sweetie. Tawny alert. He's just going to come back up here on that couch. Be careful going down those stairs. Carrying Poppy. Tawny's playing in the pool, so she throws our dogs into the pool. They swim right back and jump right out and then bark. Like, why'd you throw me in the water? Throw me again. Goofy dogs. So we will have material personalities. So we're going to keep our personalities. They may progress. We may not be jerks at the next place we go. We're jerks here. We do such stupid things. So while you increasingly discern and fraternize with spirit beings, and by the time of departure from the Morontia regime, you will have seen all orders of spirits, with the exception of a few of the higher types, such as solitary messengers. Not sure who those are, but again, created beings of Michael in our universe. Now, Morontia companions. We're all going to have companions. They could be seraphim, or they could be some or other order that is created in the universe. And these hosts of the Mansion and Morontia worlds are the offspring of a local universe mother spirit. A mother spirit. They are a universe mother spirit. In other words, our local universe has a mother spirit, just like the Holy Spirit that's way up there, all the way up there in Uversa, which has the Isle of Paradise, and the Isle of Paradise is where the Father and the Eternal Son and the Eternal Spirit live. The Mother Spirit lives. And then there are direct clones, so to speak, of that. The Eternal Spirit tends to create the angels, but lives within us as well, just as our soul does. But I think you have to ask the Holy Spirit to come into you. You automatically have the Father, with the Father Spirit, the thought adjuster. You have your soul. Everybody has a soul. That's been created by the Father, our Father, God, our God, Michael, Jesus. So anyway, some of this might go over your head, but I'll do my very best I can to try to explain it. So let's see. What did it say? These hosts of the mansion and Morancha worlds. Now there's Morancha worlds, and then you can graduate to the mansion worlds. And you can go in the Old Testament and find out about mansion worlds, just as even Paul touched upon it. I think in, I don't know, Thessalonians, Philippians. I'm not sure which one of his epistles he talks about mansion worlds. Jesus mentions mansion worlds. But that's kind of, you go through all these Morancha spheres and then eventually graduate to the lowest level of the mansion worlds and work your way up from number 7 up to number 1. I might be wrong. You go to number 1 and then you graduate to number 7. Either way, one or the other. We'll eventually learn, I think. So anyway, these are created from age to age in groups of 100,000. And in our universe, Nebadon, there are at present over 70 billion of these unique beings. Now, I believe we have 1 billion inhabited planets within Michael's universe. Do some quick addition. You get 1,000 in a system. You got 100 systems. So 100 times 1,000 would be 100,000 within a system, within the systems. And then there are 100 of those that make up the constellation. So 100 plus was 100,000. 2 more zeros, that's 8 zeros. So that's 10 million. And then you get 100 constellations making up the universe, all round numbers. And so another 2 zeros be 10 zeros. So how many is that? 6 is a million. 9 is a billion. 10 billion? 10 billion? Is that right? I might be wrong. It's either a billion or 10 billion. My brain doesn't function as good as it did when I was younger, I'm afraid. Anyway, Morancha companions are trained for service by the Melchizedeks on a special planet near Salvington. Salvington, that's... Oh, gosh, Salvington. Yeah, there's super universes. Our local universe is part of a super universe. There's 7 of those. And I'm not sure whether Salvington is in the super universe or whether it's in our local universe. I don't know. It's a big place. It's a place that is also has many, many spheres around it, maybe 1 million around it. Anyway, it says they're trained. These companions are trained for service by the Melchizedeks on a special planet near Salvington. They don't pass through the central Melchizedek schools. In service, they range from the lowest mansion worlds of the systems to the highest study spheres of Salvington. It's got to be our local universe. That's the headquarters for our universe. But they are seldom encountered on the inhabited worlds. Wait a minute. They're companions. They're supposed to be on the inhabited worlds. Oh, no. They're not in the inhabited worlds, which would be in the system. The system. Our Earth is a inhabited world within one of 1,000, but they've only created so far 619 of them, and we're number 606. So they serve under the general supervision of the sons of God. Not sure who those are. The sons of God, and under the immediate direction of the Melchizedeks. The sons of God, would that be Michael? Is the sons of God is the son of God? So the Melchizedeks operate just below Michael. Just below Michael. We know him as Jesus. The Morancha companions maintain 10,000 headquarters in a local universe. That would be Nebadon. 10,000 headquarters on each of the first mansion worlds of the local systems. Say that again. The Morancha companions maintain 10,000 headquarters in a local universe on each of the first mansion worlds of the local systems. Woo! Is that 10,000 on each one of the mansion worlds? There's 7 mansion worlds, I believe. Okay, let's skip the math. They're almost wholly a self-governing order and are in general an intelligent and a loyal group of beings. But every now and then, in connection with certain unfortunate celestial upheavals, yeah, we had one here on Earth, they have been known to go astray. They've been known to go astray. thousands of these useful creatures were lost during the times of the Lucifer rebellion in Satania. It wasn't just Earth. The whole system defaulted. But he kind of took up residence here on Earth because he kind of messed with Adam and Eve. And those Adam and Eve are what are called material sons and daughters. And we'll get into that a little bit more too. Material sons and daughters. Yes, we're evolutionary up to a certain point, and then they bring in these material sons and daughters to uplift. Let's just say we got to the Neanderthal stage, and it was time to bring in, and we even had, intellectual Neanderthals at one time, but then Adam and Eve were brought in to uplift this earth. But Lucifer got in the way. He got in the way. You know what? Take a small break. I got to turn these lights on. Otherwise, it's going to get very dark. Hang on. Sun is going down. Sun is going down. I don't know how much light this is going to bring us. But it's going to start getting pretty dark soon. Let me get these back in. I always forget to put these things back in. And hopefully I don't lose the sound. Sorry about that. So anyway, don't worry about the numbers too much. But they're telling us right here and now that some of those useful companions that were created fell right along with Lucifer. I call them fallen angels, I guess, but they're not really angels. Your local system now has its full quota of these beings. Let me say that again. Just had a blink in my Wi-Fi. Your local system, our system of Satania, now has its full quota of these beings. The loss of the Lucifer rebellion having only recently been made up. There are two distinct types of Morancha companions. One type is aggressive. The other is retiring. But otherwise they are equal in status. They are not sex creatures, but they manifest a touchingly beautiful affection for one another. And while they are hardly, these are companions you'll run into that will be assigned to you as you progress through heaven, which is the Morancha world. And while they are hardly companionate in the material, the human sense, they are very close of kin to the human races in the order of creature existence. Close. Maybe they look heavenly, but physical in nature, but they don't procreate. But they are of different sexes, so I guess they're male and female, but they don't procreate. They just got a job to do. Now, all of our channeling, let's go back to Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce in the 1930s channeled this stuff. Some people think it was a guy by the name of Maxwell. But 95% of those who know the Urantia book believe it was Edgar Cayce, and not this Maxwell of the Westinghouse family. They think he might have had something to do with it. There's also a Dr. Sadler involved in all of this. But who that person, let's say it's Casey, is channeling, just as my daughter Marisa channels your soul, channels your ascended master, your spirit, your whatever. Angels assigned to you, what have you. That's what Marisa does. What Edgar Cayce was doing was he was channeling the midway creatures. And the midway creatures are not mortal, but they're not angelic. They're a very special created being who are almost like tape recorders. They don't die. They just move around. Go from place to place, and they record things that go on. And so what Casey's doing is he's draining the brains, so to speak, of midway creatures to give us this story. So the midway creatures, and again, they live on their own sphere. We don't know exactly where that is. Is it in the system? Is it in the constellation? Or is it in the universe up near Salvington? We're not sure. But as Marisa said, they're like electrical beings, and they live on a very electrical sphere. So the midway creatures of the worlds are your nearest of kin. Then come the Marancha cherubim, the littler angels, the less advanced angels, cherubim. And after them, the Marancha companions. So it's midwayers. I always said, you got a team. You got a team. You got angels that are taking care of you. And they've been assigned to you. So that's probably the cherubim. And then when you pass on, you have these Marancha companions. These companions are touchingly affectionate and charmingly social beings. They possess distinct personalities. And when you meet them on the mansion worlds, after learning to recognize them as a class, you'll soon discern their individuality. Mortals all resemble one another. Resemble, not twins. We don't look exactly like. We resemble each other. Mortals all resemble one another. At the same time, each of you possesses a distinct and recognizable personality. You're stuck with it. You're stuck with your personality. Maybe you can improve on it if you're just a rotten person. But your personality is your personality. It's going to... So's your consciousness. You're going to remember everything. Everything. It's all part of the learning process, folks. We got these bumps in the road. We call them topaz. You might have roundabouts in your town, and they'll have little bumps so that people don't go flying through there at fast speed. Well, we got some topaz out here. And sometimes these trucks see them too late, and they throw their air brakes on. And that's why you'll hear that out there in the distance. Anyway, neither here nor there. Something of an idea of the nature of the work of these Marancha companions may be derived from the following classification of their activities in a local system. Different classifications. There are pilgrim guardians, are not assigned to specific duties in their association with the Marancha progression. Heavenly progression, think of it that way. These companions are responsible for the whole of the Marancha career and are therefore the coordinators of the work of all other Marancha and transition ministers. Not sure what that means. Not quite sure. And then there are the pilgrim receivers and free associators. These are the social companions of the new arrivals. You'll be a new arrival, I'll be a new arrival. These are the social companions of the new arrivals. On the mansion worlds. Okay, so got to go through the Marancha worlds first, then you get to the mansion worlds. One of them will certainly be on hand to welcome you when you awaken on the initial mansion world from the first transit sleep of time, when you experience the resurrection from the death of the flesh. From the death of the flesh into the Marancha life. Okay, so that's... I might have that wrong. Maybe the mansion worlds are the first places we go. I don't know. A little bit hard to follow. And then there's somebody who's going to accompany, who's going to be right there. Hey, Jane. Hi, Susie. Hi, Jack. Welcome to death. Welcome to life after death. And you're going to have somebody on hand. It says one of them will eventually certainly be on hand to welcome you when you awaken on the initial mansion world from the first transit sleep of time, when you experience the resurrection from the death of the flesh into the Marancha life. And then from the time you are thus formally welcomed on awakening to that day when you leave the local universe as a first stage spirit. Okay, I got it wrong again. No, the mansion worlds are... The Marancha worlds are where we go at the tail end of our Marancha life before we get to graduate into becoming spirit. Spirit. We're not spirit. We're souls with personality and consciousness. So they'll be there when you leave the local universe. That's Michael's universe. And then we leave and we go up into a super universe. And then from the super universe, we go all the way up to where the Father is. And that's up in Uversa, or the Isle of Paradise in Havona. Yeah, these Morancha companions are ever with you. Companions are not assigned permanently to individuals. An ascending mortal on one of the mansion or higher worlds might have a different companion on each of several successive occasions. And again, might go for long periods. Actually, we might go long periods without one. It would all depend on their requirements and also on the supply of companions available. Okay, the next one are hosts to the celestial visitors. These gracious creators, once again, these are all created by Michael. The same Michael who came down as a lonely human as Jesus of Nazareth, of all things. These gracious creatures, these celestial visitors, hosts to celestial visitors. These gracious creatures are dedicated to the entertainment of the superhuman groups of student visitors and other celestials who may chance to sojourn on the transition worlds. I learned that through Marisa in our channeling, that you get to do a lot of traveling. You get to go from one sphere to another, go see what other worlds are like, and actually go there as a visitor. And when you do go there as a visitor, you're going to need a host. You're going to need somebody that's there to kind of be a travel guide, so to speak, and to learn the language, because there are different languages. There's different languages you have to learn. So you will have ample opportunity to visit within any realm you have experientially attained. So, in other words, once you've graduated from someplace, you can go back. You can go back. You can go back and visit all the places that you had graduated from. Student visitors are allowed on all inhabited planets, even those in isolation. Student visitor. Okay, so that's what it must mean. I guess maybe if you don't even experientially attain a graduation and you're still a student, it says student visitors are allowed on all inhabited planets, even those in isolation, wherever those are. Then there's coordinators and liaison directors. These companions are dedicated to the facilitation of Morancha intercourse and to the prevention of confusion. They are the instructors of social conduct and Morancha progress, your soul's progress, Morancha progress. And they are sponsoring classes and other group activities among the ascending mortals. You and I will be ascending mortals. They maintain extensive areas wherein they assemble their pupils and from time to time make requisition on the celestial artisans and the reversion directors for the embellishment of their programs. We're all going back to school. When we move on, it's school. After school is the hardest work I ever did in my life. And I guess after we graduate from this life, we're going back to school. As you progress, you will come in intimate contact with these companions, and you will grow exceedingly fond of both groups. It is a matter of chance as to whether you will be associated with an aggressive or a retiring type of companion. I think I'll take the retiring. I don't think I could take on an aggressive one, but I don't think it's my choice. Interpreters and translators. During the early Mansonia career, you will have frequent recourse to the interpreters and the translators. They know and speak all the tongues of a local universe. They are the linguists of the realm. And you will not acquire new languages automatically. You will learn a language. Oh, I can't even learn Spanish. I'm going to flunk for sure. You will learn a language over there much as you do down here. And these brilliant beings will be your language teachers. The first study on the mansion worlds will be the tongue of our system, Satania, and then the language of Nebadon, our universe. And while you are mastering these new tongues, the Morancha companions will be your efficient interpreters and patient translators. You will never encounter a visitor on any of these worlds, but some one of the Morancha companions will be able to officiate as interpreters. So if you're going to travel around, if you're a traveler by nature, you're going to end up having an interpreter. Because you're going to go somewhere like, if I went to Greece, I wouldn't know what they're talking about. I mean, I have a hard enough time knowing what they're talking about here in Mexico, and I've been down here for 11 years. Excursion and reversion supervisors. These companions will accompany you on the longer trips to the headquarters spheres and to the surrounding worlds on transition culture. You're going to learn culture. They plan, conduct, and supervise all such individual and group tours about the system worlds of training and culture. Then there's area and building custodians. Area and building custodians. Janitors? That's what I think of as custodian. Area and building custodians. Even the material and Morancha structures increase in perfection and grandeur as you advance in the Mansonia career. Don't forget, you got 570 lives you got to live. So you're going to keep graduating to different spheres, and different systems. Nope, got to stay within your system, I think. As individuals and as groups, you are permitted to make certain changes in the abodes assigned as headquarters for your sojourn on the different mansion worlds. Many of the activities of these spheres take place in the open enclosures of the variously designated circles, squares, and triangles. Geometry. They're in variously designated circles, squares, and triangles. The majority of the mansion world structures are roofless. They don't have roofs, being enclosures of magnificent construction and exquisite embellishment. The climate and other physical conditions prevailing on the architectural worlds make roofs wholly unnecessary. So I guess we're not going to have any rain or snow. These custodians of the transition phases of ascendant life are supreme in the management of Morancha affairs. Heavenly affairs. Morancha affairs. That's where we're going to go, into these Morancha worlds when we die. They were created for this work, and pending the factualization of the Supreme Being, always will they remain Morancha companions. Never do they perform other duties. That's this particular order, created again by Michael. He created all this stuff. All these people, all these personalities, all these teachers and linguists and whatever. As systems and universes are settled in light and life, there we are. That's in the Marisa's world. Speaking of light and life. As systems and universes are settled in light and life, the mansion worlds increasingly cease to function as transition spheres of Morancha training. More and more, the Finalizers Institute, think of that as like a university with really, really smart professors. They're up there in the Finalizers Institute. So I guess going for your PhD before you graduate off to start spirit world, because then you got to transition into becoming a spirit, and that doesn't happen just because you graduate from the Morancha worlds. So more and more, the Finalizers Institute, their new training regime, which appears to be designed to translate the cosmic consciousness from the present level of the grand universe to that of the future outer universes. That means we end up graduating outside of Michael's universe, outside of this universe that our Michael, our Jesus created. The Morancha companions are destined to function increasingly in association with the Finalizers and in numerous other realms, not present, and not presently revealed on our planet, on Urantia. We don't see any of this. We don't understand any of it. We don't use enough of our brain to understand it. So you can forecast that these beings are probably going to contribute much to your enjoyment of the mansion worlds, whether your sojourn is to be long or short. Mine's going to be long because I can't even understand languages. I'm going to be stuck in first grade. And you will continue to enjoy them all the way up to Salvington. Salvington, again, is the headquarters world of our local universe, I think. Is it of the ultimate universe, Salvington, around God. That's Uversa and Havona. So Salvington's got to be the headquarters of our universe. They are not technically essential to any part of your survival experience. You could reach Salvington without them, but you would greatly miss them. They are the personality luxury of your ascension career in our local universe. Then there are the reversion directors. And here's where we get into humor. Listen to this. This is really interesting. How are we doing on time? Oh my God, I can't believe it. Oh, I've only got 10 minutes left. Sorry, folks. But let's get into this. This is really, really interesting. And it applies to us in our lives now. Joyful mirth and the smile equivalent are as universal as music. So there's going to be music everywhere we go. Music, heavenly music. The smile, feeling good, being happy, laughing. That's part of our training. Why isn't our training here? I mean, our world, our United States is trying to shut up every comedian that's out there. Joyful mirth and the smile equivalent are as universal as music. There is a morontial and a spiritual equivalent of mirth and laughter. The ascendant life is about equally divided between work and play. We all got to go back to work. I'm retired. I don't want to go back to work. But I guess I'll have to go back to work when we move on, when I move on. But equally divided between work and play, work and play, work and play. And then freedom from assignment. We got assignments, folks. Had a little blink in my Wi-Fi. Celestial relaxation and superhuman humor are quite different from their human analogs. But we all actually indulge in a form of both. And they really accomplish for us in our state just about what ideal humor is able to do right here on Earth. Let me say that again. These long sentences, I have to break them up. Celestial relaxation and superhuman humor are quite different from our human analogies. But we all actually indulge in a form of both. That would be our human, mortal humor, and the humor we're going to learn up there. And they really accomplish for us in our state just about what ideal humor is able to do right here on Earth. The Morontia companions are skillful play sponsors, and they are most ably supported by the reversion directors. You would probably best understand the work of the reversion directors if they were likened to the higher types of humorists. What, the Steve Martins and the who are some of the great comedians? I'm going totally blank here right now. Oh, I can't believe it. My brother's a humorist. He's a comedian. He's a good one too, because he's totally clean comedy, absolutely clean. He never uses a 4-letter word, and he never trashes anybody. It's all clean humor. But yeah, maybe my brother's a higher soul, since he is a humorist. You would probably best understand the work of the reversion director if they were likened to the higher types of humorists on your rancho. Though that would be an exceedingly crude and somewhat unfortunate way in which to try to convey an idea of the function of these directors of change and relaxation. These ministers of the exalted humor of the Morontia and spirit realms. Exalted humor. In discussing spirit humor, first let me tell you what it is not. Spirit jest is never tinged with the accentuation of the misfortune of the weak and erring. We always laugh when we see somebody fall down. We go, oh, 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 we go, oh, look, he fell down. I don't think that's the kind of humor that they want to see. Neither is it ever blasphemous of the righteous and glory of divinity. So you're not going to be able to make fun of the divine, that's for sure. Our humor embraces 3 general levels of appreciation. 3 levels of humor. Reminiscent jests, quips growing out of the memories of the past episodes, in one's experience of combat and struggle and sometimes fearfulness. That would be here on earth. And oftentimes foolish and childish anxiety. To us, this phase of human derives from the deep-seated and abiding ability to draw upon the past for memory material with which pleasantly to flavor and otherwise lighten the heavy loads of the present. Uh-oh. Are they talking about our heavy loads now or our heavy loads later? Yipes. Then there's current humor. I'll go through these 3 levels of humor and then we'll be done for today. Current humor. The senselessness of much that so often causes us serious concern. The joy at discovering the unimportance of much of our serious personal anxiety. That fits in with us right now. We're just always so serious, mad, angry, fear. And that takes that out of us. Go to a movie. When you go to a movie and you watch a comedy at the movie, you're translated out of our mortal existence here on earth for just a brief moment. And that's probably what they're talking about. Yes, you can still think of what's going on outside where the world's all messed up, but you can think of your humorous times as well. So that humor stays with us. How about that? That's really cool. We are most appreciative of this phase of humor when we are best able to discount the anxieties of the present in favor of the certainties of the future. And then 3, prophetic joy. It will perhaps be difficult for mortals to envision this phase of humor, but we do get a peculiar satisfaction out of the assurance. This comes right from Paul, that all things work together for good. That all things work together for good. If you ever watched the series on Netflix called Manifest, watch that. That's kind of a fun show. It's called Manifest on Netflix. They're always using this phrase. Because the mother who had passed away had taught this to her kids, that all things work together for good. And there it is. There it is. And it says that all things work together for good, for spirits and Moranchans, as well as for mortals. Mortals, that's you and I. This aspect of celestial humor grows out of our faith in the loving overcare of our superiors and in the divine stability of our supreme directors. But the reversion directors of the realms are not concerned exclusively with depicting the high humor of the various orders of intelligent beings. They're also occupied with the leadership of diversion, spiritual recreation, and Morancha entertainment. There's going to be entertainment up there too. Maybe they got movies. Who knows? And in this connection, they have the hearty cooperation of the celestial artisans. So if you're artful in this life, you'll probably be artful up there in your next life. The reversion directors themselves are not a created group. I just said they were. They are not a created group. They are a recruited corps, embracing beings ranging from the Havona, all the way up there with the Father, ranging from the Havona natives down through the messenger hosts of space and the ministering spirits of time to the Morancha progressors from the evolutionary world. So they're coming all the way from the top down to almost the bottom. And all are volunteers, giving themselves to the work of assisting their fellows in the achievement of thought change and mind rest. For such attitudes are most helpful in recuperating depleted energies. That might be something Marisa gets into. How are we doing? We're right there. When partially exhausted by the efforts of attainment, and while awaiting the reception of new energy charges. That's something Marisa could touch on. While awaiting the reception of new energy charges, there is agreeable pleasure in living over again the enactments of other days and ages. So we relive the pleasure in living over again the enactments of other days and other ages. The early experiences of the race or the order are restful to reminisce. This is all in italics. The early experiences of the race or the order are restful to reminisce. And that is exactly why these artists are called reversion directors. They assist in reverting the memory to a former state of development or to a less experienced status of being. All beings enjoy this sort of reversion except those who are inherent creators. Jesus was funny. He was funny down here. He's a creator, but they may be talking about the life carriers, and we'll learn a little bit more about the life carriers again tomorrow. We learned a little bit yesterday. Life carriers are the celestial scientists that create life, beings, things in the ocean and on the land. And we get new creatures, and then they hang around. They come in, they stay long enough to make sure that they get implanted here. So maybe those UFOs are the life carriers. UFOs that go right down in the water. We've seen them. Our naval ships have filmed them doing that. And they move faster than you could possibly move in water. So, those inherent creators don't become these teachers or these joyful people. They're the only ones that can. So you eventually can become a teacher. You can eventually grow to become a humorist and somebody who helps others in their growth as you grow. So let's see. All beings enjoy this sort of reversion except those who are inherent creators, hence automatic self-rejuvenators, and certain highly specialized types of creatures, such as the power centers and the physical controllers, don't know who those are, who are always and eternally thoroughly businesslike in all their reactions. Okay, there's businesslike people who don't want to have anything to do with humor. That's not in their DNA. These periodic releases from the tension of functional duty are a regular part of life on all worlds throughout the universe of universes, but not on the Isle of Paradise. That's where the Father is. So, I don't know, they should have humor up there. Come on. Beings indigenous to the central abode are incapable of depletion and are not, therefore, subject to re-energizing. And with such beings of eternal paradise perfection, there can be no such reversion to evolutionary experiences. Don't know what that means? And with such beings of eternal paradise perfection, that would be those that have attained perfection, spirit perfection, there can be no such reversion to evolutionary experiences. Most of it, I guess that when we move out of our Marisa stage and we get into the spirit stage, maybe they don't have humor. That would be such a shame. Most of us have come up through lower stages of existence or through progressive levels of our orders, and it is refreshing and in a measure amusing to look back upon certain episodes of our early experiences. There is a restfulness in the contemplation of that which is old to one's order, and which lingers as a memory possession of the mind. You're going to retain this. You're going to retain your experiences here on earth. Maybe the bad, too. I don't know. The future signifies struggle and advancement. The future signifies struggle and advancement. Crap. We're going to have struggles in our next lives, too. It bespeaks work, effort, and achievement. But the past saviors of things already mastered and achieved, contemplation of the past permits of relaxation and such a carefree review as to provoke spirit mirth and a Marisa state of mind verging on experiment. Even mortal humor becomes most hearty when it depicts episodes affecting those just a little beneath one's present development state. Ha ha! So I guess we can laugh at those that are just a little bit clumsier than we are in our progression state. A little beneath one's present development state, or when it portrays one's supposed superiors falling victim to the experiences which are commonly associated with supposed inferiors. So even the superiors can, what was it, what's Elaine on Seinfeld? Remember when she was doing the goofy dance? And we talked about that in one of mine and Marissa's sessions, how sometimes bosses get drunk, your superiors get drunk, and then they dance like Elaine, and now he has to go back to work. You get to laugh at your superiors too, even up in heaven. You of Urantia have allowed much that is at once vulgar and unkind to become confused with your humor, but on the whole, you are to be congratulated on a comparatively keen sense of humor. Some of your races have a rich vein of it and are greatly helped in their earthly careers thereby. Those who have humor within them our earthly careers are being advanced. Apparently, you receive much in the way of humor from your Adamic inheritance. That's from Adam. Much more than was secured of either music or art. Oh, gosh. Let's see. I think this is going to go too far. I've already gone over an hour. And it's still having to do with fun. I'll just pick this up tomorrow. We'll get back into finishing this. This is, let me see how much time I'm going to... Oh my gosh, I'm only halfway through this paper. Oh my God, you gads. Okay, I'll do some studying tomorrow, and I'll see if... but I really wanted to get into this about the humor. I think this is really cool. The sense of celestial humor we have with us always, even when engaged in the most difficult assignments, it helps to avoid an overdevelopment of the notion of one's self-importance. But we do not give rein to it freely, as you might say. Have fun. Quote, unquote. Have fun, except we are in recess from the serious assignments of our respective orders. When we are tempted to magnify our self-importance, if we stop to contemplate the infinity of the greatness and grandeur of our makers, our own self-glorification becomes sublimely ridiculous. That's a lesson for right now. And I'm running a little bit over, so I apologize. And hopefully Marissa will make it in here. Do I see a red dot? Not yet. I got several notices that Marissa's phone was dying. It says, let Marissa know that her phone only has 2% left. First it was 10, and then it was down to 2. So I don't know if Marissa's going to get in here. Anyway, so let me finish this up. If we stop to contemplate the infinity of the greatness and the grandeur of our makers, our own self-glorification becomes sublimely ridiculous, even verging on the humorous. One of the functions of humor is to help all of us take ourselves less seriously. Humor is the divine antidote for exaltation of ego. Then we get into the need for relaxation and diversion of humor. And diversion of humor is greatest in those orders of ascendant beings. I'll get into that tomorrow. We'll finish this up because I'm only halfway through this paper. But Sunday I am going to get into the resurrection. If I have to come back to this learning lesson. But really what this is all about is we're going to learn some things about Morantia life while Jesus is in the tomb. And they're going to talk about Morantia life. And it would make absolutely zero sense to you if we had not gone over these lessons, knowing about different spheres within our constellations and living spheres within our system and within the universe, and then what happens when we leave our current world, Earth, and move on. We got a long way to go. Eternity's a long time. But some of us may not make it. Some of us may not make it. Some of us may go into a hole. And we have to come back, and the Spirit of the Father actually leaves. And I think I might get into that a little bit tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, if you're just a flat-out rotten person that probably throws his middle finger up to God, you're going to go in a hole. You're going to go in a hole. And you have to wait. And your spirit, the Father's Spirit, leaves you. And you'll probably have to wait about 1,000 years. For a dispensation period. And then you will be resurrected. And your Father's Spirit will come back to you, and maybe you'll have a realization that, oh, I really screwed up in that last life. That's for sure. And that might even happen even in your progression. You might screw up in your progression as well. Humor is the divine antidote for exaltation of the ego. Doesn't Marisa talk about that all the time? We got to get out of our ego, out of our mind, because in our mind is the fear and the greed and the anger and all those negative colors of flakes that you look through when they're inside your snow globe, and then you see those flakes and then you project onto somebody else saying, you do what really you're doing. And that's it. So that's as far as I can go. I don't want to go too much farther, and we'll take it a little bit farther tomorrow. I hope that wasn't too confusing. A little confusing, but looks like Marissa's light's on, so let's see if Marisa can join us. Woo! Gosh, got a lot of people out there. Julia, Sarah, Marisa, Julia, Marisa again, and Diane. Hi. I think there might be more, but I could have invites to all of you to come in. Anyway, let's see if Marisa makes it in here and see what she has to say. I don't know if this is anything that she can channel about or not, but I've got a question for Peter. Peter comes in. Hey, Marisa.
Hi.
Hey, listen, yesterday when you were channeling... Oh, is that Holly?
Hi.
Oh, hi, Holly. I'm blind as a bat when I don't have my glasses on. Hi. Oh, you're back in Las Vegas. You're either back in Las Vegas or Marissa's in Bullhead City.
No,
which one?
We're here. I'm not in Bullhead.
Okay,
I
you're in
am planning on
Las
going
Vegas.
out there at some point.
Oh,
though.
that's great.
But yeah,
Well, you probably haven't had a chance to listen to what we were talking
I was
about
just
here.
listening. I
Oh,
listened
you
to the
were?
whole thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Well, when you were channeling yesterday,
Okay. Love you. Okay.
bye,
She's
Holly.
leaving. I'm listening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Papa says bye.
Bye.
Drive safe.
Bye. Bye,
Okay.
Pops. That's
Bye.
right. So anyway, yesterday when you were channeling, and Peter came in, I said, gosh, you know what? I think Peter's got to still be in his Marancha ascension. And, uh-oh, did I lose you? I lost you. I think her phone went dead. I bet you anything her phone went dead. Hang on. I told you. I was getting those notices that Marissa's phone's going to die. Did your phone die?
It wants to, so I'm gonna plug it in right now.
Yeah,
I was just saying bye to Holly.
Oh, okay. I get those notices. I don't know why. I've got an app.
Because it's like we're on Life 360 together. So I've got 3 phones though. So one of them is usually always dead.
Oh.
So it tells everybody that my phone's dead and to let me know to charge my phone.
Oh, okay. Lets me know too.
No, she has
Says
to.
you got 10% left, then you got 2% left, whatever. Who else you got there? Are the kids?
Madison's crying. Holly left.
Well, she'll come back. I know it's always hard when they leave. Oh.
Hold on. Let me just talk to Madison just for 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Okay. I know how she feels. Hold on. I'll be right back. Hold on.
All right, go ahead.
I'll be right back.
Okay. There goes Marisa. Oh, so anyway, I wonder if I can read a little bit here while she's off. Madison's sad that her aunt is taking off. Let's see. The need for the relaxation and diversion of humor is greatest in those orders of ascendant beings who are subjected to sustained stress in their upward struggles. The two extremes of life have little need for humorous diversions. Primitive men have no capacity, therefore, and beings of paradise perfection have no need thereof. The hosts of Havona are naturally a joyous and exhilarating assemblage of supremely happy personalities. On paradise, the quality of worship obviates the necessity for reversion activities. But among those who start their careers far below the goal of paradise perfection, there is a large place for the ministry of the reversion directors. That's to get you out of your ego and your mind. So I guess we still have ego and mind in our progression. I think we always thought that we left all our earthly stuff behind, but maybe not. Maybe not.
So
The higher the
ego is our spirit. So yes, we still have it.
The higher the mortal species, the greater the stress and the greater the capacity for humor, as well as the necessity for it. In the spirit world, the opposite is true. In the spirit world, it's opposite. The higher we ascend, the less the need for the diversions of reversion experiences. But proceeding down the scale of spirit life from paradise to the seraphic hosts, there is an increasing need for the mission of mirth and the ministry of merriment. Those beings who most need the refreshment of periodic reversion to the intellectual status of previous experiences are the higher types of the human species, the Merantians, angels, and the material sons, together with all similar types of personality. And then I'll just say this one thing: humor should function as an automatic safety valve to prevent the building up of excessive pressures due to the monotony of sustained and serious self-contemplation in association with the intense struggle for developmental progress and noble achievement. Humor also functions to lessen the shock of the unexpected impact of fact or of truth, rigid, unyielding fact and flexible, ever-living truth. The mortal personality, never sure as to which will next be encountered, through humor swiftly grasps and sees the point and achieves insight. Humor, humor, humor is so important. It's important in the entire universe. The unexpected nature of the situation, be it fact or be it truth. And then it goes on, keeps going on. While the humor of your answers is, it says, while the humor on Earth, our Earth, is exceedingly crude and most inartistic, it does serve a valuable purpose, both as a health insurance and as a liberator of emotional pressure, thus preventing injurious nervous tension and over serious self-contemplation. Humor and play, relaxation, are never reactions of progressive exertion. Always are they the echoes of a backward glance, a reminiscence of the past. Even on Earth, as you now are, you always find it rejuvenating when for a short time you can suspend the exertions of the newer and higher intellectual efforts and revert to the more simple engagements of your ancestors. Just having joy.
So they're saying the smarter you are, things aren't funny anymore because you just know everything?
No, I think the smarter you are, you become more self-absorbed. And you need to get out of that self-absorption or self-fulfillment of your self, always self. That's the mind. That's the mind side of, we're two-brained. And we are the mind side and we're the spiritual side. And most of us are stuck in the mind side. We don't cross over into the spiritual side. That's going to be tomorrow. We're going to learn more about, we are mid-brained creatures, mortals,
Well,
which means we're two-brained. And there are one-brained and there are two-brained, and we're superior to the one-brained. And but there are three-brained who, we have what, two cortexes, one on each side, is that right? But three-brained,
brain. Oh yeah, two. The right and left side of the brain.
right and left side, but the three-brained have the right and left side, and then another one, I guess maybe in the back or something. I don't know. We'll get into that a little bit. But anyway,
they said that
if
the
there's
energy carriers. Remember, you said something about the energy carriers or something like that
yeah.
earlier. The mitochondria.
What is that?
The mitochondria. So the mitochondria in our brain are like these little, like, I see them as like little springs inside these little capsules in our brain, and they create energy. And when you said something about energy carriers, I literally just heard they are the springs in the mitochondria. So they're like energy generators. Like, I don't know that they're beings. I think that they're just things that operate,
I guess, energy
inside of our brains.
We take in energy right here on Earth. I mean, we have energy all around us.
Well, yeah, that's how our body operates and how our heart still goes and our body works. But when I was taking the NAD, is it NAD? The NAD. Remember, I gave you some of those. The NAD, NAD plus. Yeah, that actually gives you more mitochondria. Like your mitochondria, it's mitochondria create like the life force energy within us that makes us younger, that makes us feel young. And we stop creating the NAD in our body like at age 30, and that's why we start to get old instead of getting, instead of staying young. So we start to age when that stops creating energy. So those energy carriers that you were talking about, made it sound like it was a person, but I think it's more like there are things within us that create energy so that we can continue to stay at a high frequency and a high vibration and create a reality around us and not get old and diminish. So what the guides were saying was that all these things that we're talking about inside of, all these things that are being talked about can all be traced back to parts of our body and parts of our brain and organs within us, because we're a hologram, or we're like a, so like, say like, the hypothalamus within us is like a small hologram, like version of our soul.
Oh,
And
okay.
then the hippocampus, they're saying, is like a microscopic version of like the akasha, like the records, the akashic
Yeah,
records.
the
Uh,
Akashic records. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
and then they're saying the is it hypothalamus. They're saying the thalamus is where the spirit resides. And so there's, I don't even know what any of these things are, but they're talking about all the different organs and all the different things within us, are all like a drop of the ocean is still the ocean, right? So
Right.
the ocean, you take a drop of it. So we're a drop of God. And so everything within us can all be traced back to these different things that they're talking about. So they're saying that maybe in some reality or some world, these energy people are people or whatever, but here within us, they're functions of our body. So a lot of these things that you're talking about today, they're saying are things that people that we have within us, and that we can work on connecting with within ourselves, because we have everything within us, just like we have God. They're saying God is like, it looks almost like it's like, right, and everyone looks the same. It looks almost like a cork, like right here in our throat, and it comes
Hmm.
down. It's like a big, it almost looks like an upside down light bulb, and the light bulb looks like it's screwed into like our brain, and then it's hanging
Wow.
down. There's a bulb here, and then it's got the little neck here, or maybe it looks like a little wine bottle, or like something like a, like it goes whoop like that, and there's a little neck. And
Oh,
it's saying that
good
that's
metaphor.
like, yeah, it's like that's God, but it's an empty space within us that is for us to fill. So when we are needing things in our life to be dissolved, we have to give them to God, and the God within us will dissolve them if we don't want them there anymore, or will embellish them if we want more. So we have to know and understand that there's an empty space within us that is there for us to create. That all the other spaces within us are created, and like you were talking about how there's created beings and not created beings, and free will beings and all this, they're saying that there's a space within us, that space right here. It's almost like this, the emptiness comes up so that when we speak, we like the word is God, because that's God comes up from like our, from down here, and we speak with our God voice, and we create. So they're saying that for people when they're listening to this stuff, to not get too like, oh whoa, there's all this stuff out there, because it's not out there, it's in here, and it's inside of us.
Okay.
And they always say, oh, the temple's within, oh, your body's a temple. And they're saying that's true. And if you, they're saying, how they say like garbage in, garbage out. If you eat garbage,
Right.
then you're gonna feel like garbage. And I think you're the one that says that. And but they're saying to really, really, really like start to look at the way that like I'm holding this cosmetics, like, before you put this on, before you put like cosmetics on, ask yourself, tune into that space within you, that empty space within you that is God, and ask if this is going to embellish your experience or if it's going to diminish your experience. Embellish or diminish. And do that with everything. Food, do that with what you're going to drink, do that with activities that you're going to do, and really start to say, okay, is this going to embellish my experience or diminish my experience? And when we can do this, this is when we can realize that we have full control over our life and the quality of our life. And if we think, oh, this is going to diminish my experience, but I'm going to put it on anyways, that's just us being us. That's just us being humans going like, oh, well, it's going to diminish my experience, but I'll eat it anyways, even though it's going to kill me. Or it's not necessarily about killing you, or maybe it diminishing my experience. This in 3 hours, it will just be a really ugly color, and somebody will want to take a picture, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I have the ugliest color lipstick on because it faded and I don't have it with me anymore. So maybe that's why it's going to diminish my experience. Or maybe it has a deadly chemical in it that I don't know is deadly, and in 10 years they'll say anyone who put that green lipstick on during this year is going to die now. So they're saying it could be very drastic or very undrastic, but to trust that piece of God inside of you when you ask, will this embellish or diminish my experience? Trust it and go with it. They're suggesting that people do that for 3 days. Just ask different things. Is this going to diminish or embellish my experience? And if it says it's going to diminish it, just choose not to do it. Save it for later, or whatever. But this is the one talking right now is Simon. And not it's Peter's higher self.
Okay.
Simon's talking, and then Saint Francis has been here since yesterday. And he was here last night during class, and he had us read the Saint Francis prayer. during class. It was kind of cool. But they're saying that we can allow the negative in our life to be overcome by positive. Like in that St. Francis prayer, it's like, allow yourself to be, instead of seeking love, give love. Instead of, doubt, fill yourself with faith or something like that. I don't remember the prayer exactly, but I suggest anybody who wants to read a pretty cool prayer. I'm sure a lot of people already know it, but it's called the St. Francis prayer. It's pretty good. But yeah, they're just saying that to take control over your life and don't allow yourself to be unhappy because you have control over that. Same with people. Is this going to diminish or embellish my experience? Hanging out with this person or talking with these people, is it going to diminish me or embellish it? And it doesn't mean that if someone's bad, they're going to diminish your experience. They may embellish your experience because you may be around a bad person and realize, I don't want to be anything like that. And that may motivate you to become a different person and to change. So it's not about good or bad. It just is. And just allow your God, this little God quadrant, this empty space within you, to be the judge of whether something embellishes. And it could embellish your experience today and diminish your experience tomorrow. So it's like, there's no good or bad here. There's no such thing as good or bad. It's just diminishing you or embellishing you. That's it.
Cool. Well, one thing I learned today is how important it is to have rest, relaxation, art, music, and humor in your life.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is important.
It all comes from your spirit too. All that comes from the left side. The right, it all comes from the right side of the brain. The art, the humor, all the right side.
One half is spiritual, the other half is your intelligence and your mind. Scientists may describe it differently, but the way your answer is we're two-brained, and we got one side is for our mind, intelligence, thoughts, this, that, and the other, but the other is spiritual. It's our spiritual quest or spiritual understanding. So, and there's probably not a whole lot of people that are spiritual, but the more and more I read, a lot of people are really getting into spirituality. Not necessarily going to church, but they're really into spirituality, trying to understand more about who we are, why we're here, what the heck are we doing, So anyway.
We have access to that other dimension of ourselves since 2012, and people are experiencing that other dimension of self instead of just experiencing a few emotions. We're experiencing a wider range of emotions. We're experiencing more hearing. We can hear other things. We're hearing ringing in our ears, or we're hearing like bells, or we're feeling pressure in places in our body where we never felt pressure before because we have access to different dimensions. They want me to read this. So they said, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
That's cool.
That's the St. Francis prayer.
Oh, that's the St. Francis prayer. That's
they wanted me to read it. So anyways, they had me read it like 3 times last night during class. Oh my gosh, the dog's knocking my phone over. She just came and head butted my
I heard her just barking her head off. That's normally my dogs. My dog's barking incessantly while I'm trying to do something.
This dog loves to pee on our carpet. She's so bad.
Of course.
She will not be potty trained. And then she runs away. She grabs a pen or something of mine and she runs away.
No, you got to train her like you trained Poochie. What you got to do is, unfortunately, you got to rub her face in her pee.
I did that last night. I pointed at her pee and I said, bad.
No, don't point at it. She didn't understand that. She's got to actually get her face in her pee.
Aww.
Spank her on the butt, and then put her outside so that she knows that's where she's supposed to go.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're letting the dog.
Someone's ringing my doorbell. That's weird. Madison, don't get it. I'll get it. Okay, someone's at my door. I better go grab that. Yeah. Oh, it's Matthew. Never mind. Okay. All right.
Oh, okay.
I'm just finishing up, bud. I'm almost done. Okay. All right. So, that was all they wanted to share tonight. I don't even remember what they shared, but
okay. Just listen to it afterwards.
Embellishing or diminishing our life experience.
Yeah.
So that's actually a pretty cool tool. I like that. I love little tools like that they give us.
Yeah, that is. It's really cool.
Yeah,
it's a lesson. We have a lesson. I was speaking to a client of ours that we sold his land here in Los Cocos,
and I've never met him. His name is Jim. And I was talking to him a little bit, and he was asking me what I was doing. I told him, I do this. And so he wanted to know, he wanted to come in, he wanted to start watching this, because I said, we're living in, he was saying, you know what, Joe? Money does not buy you happiness. No matter, you've probably heard that 1,000 times, but he's got a lot of money. He's got a lot of properties. He's got a lot of money. He's bought all this land. He's bought these things. And he said, money doesn't buy you happiness. And he's mad. He's mad at how the politics are going in the country and how the country's falling apart. And I said, you know what? You got to get out of fear and anger. Fear and anger. And he goes, oh my God, I never thought of that. I said, you got to get out of fear and anger, because if you can get out of fear and anger, if you don't get out of it, you're going to be encircled with nothing but negativity. Negativity. Those dark forces are going to attack you as you are in fear and anger. Fear and anger. And so, as we learned today, humor is very important, because appreciating art, appreciating funny movies, appreciating music, and just having a joyous experience is heavenly in itself. It's heavenly.
That's why I love,
and that's what
Holly here, because we were laughing. We just laughed, having like your brother or sister around. It's just funny.
Right.
We just kept laughing about old stuff, but like more like just stupid stuff where you're just like this movie, Daddy's Home 2 is so funny. And there's this dog in it, and he names it Tumor. He goes, I named it Tumor because he just grows on you. And it's just this gross looking, old, nasty dog. Oh,
that's Poppy, and he's wet.
Wait, is
You're
Poppy
wet.
back?
This is Poppy. No, I lost Joey.
Joey
Was stolen. Look at me. What? You're not supposed to be up here. You're not supposed to be up here.
He looks just like Lucky, but he has a shorter nose.
Yeah, and he's got littler ears. He's got littler ears. He's a little
bit.
Look how he looks off to the side. He looks at me with
the
corner of his eye. He's wet. Tawny was playing with him in the pool. I put my surfboard in the pool, and Marissa was putting the dogs in the pool on the surfboard. Get off of there.
Funny.
Get down there. So anyway, maybe I can ask the question tomorrow. But whenever I ask direct questions of Jesus or Peter or anybody, we never get a direct answer. We get a new lesson.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking about Peter yesterday. He said that he's lived through 233 of the Morancho 570 lives. So my question is the earth one of the spheres within the progression that souls can choose to come to for more experience?
Yeah.
Or is this like hell? I mean,
no,
did
he
choose? It is part of the cycle. So our
it's
earth is
cycle,
actually, so heaven on earth is in many ways true. We're still heaven, or earth is still part of heaven, and it's a place just for experiences.
He says heaven is inside of earth, and when we are spirit that springs from the earth, we go back into the earth, back into this heaven. But the cosmic creation that is like the midwayers, how they're just consciousness, those consciousnesses, they don't do heaven. They don't do heaven or hell or anything like that. They just build more and more consciousness and more awareness, and they just learn and build and like build up like a database, kind of like you're saying, like, the smarter you are, that you don't have like the what's it called, humor or whatever. So humor comes from inside the earth, heaven comes from the inside of the earth, music comes from the inside of the earth, everything comes from the inside of the earth. The consciousness that we are, that springs from, like, say, Sirius, that's where the pre-world and the after world exist within there, where we're all one, and then we separate from like we're like the Tao, and then we become like little pieces of the Tao. We go out and we live inside of different planets. So then we go into like the heaven inside of Earth, and we're in there, and then we spring up from there, and our consciousness gets mixed with the spirit, and then we're living on Earth, and then that's when we get our personality and our ego and all that stuff. And then it's very hard to get back down into the center of Earth again, because we have this like more like the smart negative part of us that's like all information, and then we've got this childlike spirit that's like, yay, fun, play, bouncing up and down and playing. And it's kind of like the balancing of those two worlds, because ultimately we're not either one of those. We're like our thought adjuster / the father / the mother. We're that too. So he says that heaven is only for heaven in the sense that we understand it is only in the inside of the earth. And if we live in other worlds, heaven is also inside the earth. So Urantia has a heaven inside of it, but like say Uranus and Neptune and Pluto and Mars and all those, they don't have heavens on the inside.
Oh,
So we
interesting.
can live in other worlds and other realities, but we are from Earth. Everyone here that's on Earth is from Earth. Our spirit springs from Earth. So that's where our spirit will go back to. So beings can live in other worlds and other realities, but not as an Earth spirit, not as a spirit. Like we're an elemental spirit being, and then we evolve and we grow. But he says being in Earth and on Earth and living so many repetitions on Earth, you can live in different years and different times. So he says that he could live in the year 5020, and then he could go
Wow.
live in the year 1210, and
Wow.
it's all the same timeline. It all plays out the same way every single time. It's like a movie that's been played, and now we're just going through reruns and just doing it over and over and playing all the different characters. So he said that he hasn't been Peter, all these 200 times. He's been different people,
Right.
he says. So
But
and that's consciousness.
yeah, but apparently we keep our personality and our consciousness. Our personality can be worked on, but our consciousness stays with us through the entire journey.
Our
Entire
consciousness
journey.
is from Sirius. Our consciousness is like the little Pac-Man guy, and then
Uh-huh.
our awareness would be kind of like the father, like a stream of energy of like the father, like the witness. That's our awareness. But the thought adjuster thing is kind of like the witness as well, like the awareness. So the thought adjuster mixed with our consciousness from it's like God consciousness or Christ consciousness, mixed with the earth's consciousness, which is the spirit, mixed with our thought adjuster, which is the soul's consciousness. Those three come together and form together to create our personality. So when we die, we take all the wisdom that we had from that collective consciousness, like the Sirius consciousness, and then the earth consciousness and the soul consciousness. We take all that with us in like a little like tightly packed little bundle, and that kind of becomes us, but it's not necessarily us. It's all the information that we have. The us that we truly are is source, which is beyond the father, beyond the mother, beyond all personalities. It's just a spark of light, and that's who we truly are. And that's what gets encapsulated inside the soul's consciousness and can't leave until it's fully evolved and grown and refined and become pure spirit again. So
Even though part of our ascension, eventually we move towards ourselves, our own personality and consciousness can move up to becoming a spirit, but we got a long, 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 long,
an
long way to
individual spirit.
go.
It is an earth spirit. So earth is a spirit. Earth is its
Okay.
own spirit. So all the spirits it creates are earth spirits. So we're all a little piece of earth. The father, then our soul's all a little piece of the father. So when we become our own spirit, that means we can go and become our own planet, and we can create
Oh,
all of our own beings in our own
oh,
worlds. So
oh,
earth had evolved and grown. The earth is created by spirit, and in essence 12 kind of oversoul beings that are kind of like
right.
accounts that help to dictate, oh well, this is what we should make, and this is what we should do, and this is what we create. And over on this world that these people made, they did this. They made beings that had 5 arms, and they did, just kind of like a council sort of. But ultimately, once we become evolved and we grow enough, we can become a planet. We can become
Wow,
a planet, and then we are
wow.
we're the collective of everybody that's on the planet. So we have to pay for all the idiots, and we have to pay for all, and then we get to benefit off the good. So right now Earth is kind of in this weird upheaval where Earth is trying to eject all the bad from it because it's over it, and it wants to continue to evolve and grow into more of a universe, as opposed to just a sphere. And
Oh,
it goes from being a sphere to a flat space. Remember, I was seeing some of the worlds as flat, to a
yeah.
flat matrix grid. So it goes from being a
Uh-huh.
sphere to then that entire sphere, the collective of everybody that was on that planet, it now becomes a being within itself, and it goes and it lives in this like matrixy reality that's kind of like a mock creation reality where you can create whatever you want and see what happens. And Earth kind of fell into that about 26,000 years ago, and it's looping back around into it to see if it has the ability to create its own like realities or worlds or something. And then once that plays out and it works out, then it's like, oh, okay, you can go make like some stars and a sun and some more planets and inhabit those, and let's see what happens. So ultimately we grow from being like little spirit beings that were created by a planet to be able to create a planet, to evolving and growing to be able to create a solar system, to create a universe, to create a reality, then to becoming a Michael. And the Michael then creates, even more so. So yeah, it's an evolutionary thing, but that one spark that we're one spark, one little spark from God. That's us. That will always be us. It's our me. So me,
Oh.
like me and God, me and spirit, me and the soul, me and this. So it's our me inside of us. Our me will always be the same. It'll never change. We could change from personality to ego to spirit to soul to earth to a universe to an oversoul to a consciousness from Sirius to a consciousness from the sun. We can change all these different things, but our spark, our initial spark that sparked off of the original creation and turned around and went, whoa, I'm separate from God. I can create. Wow, this is cool. I'm God. That spark will never change. It's always the same. It's always us. And sometimes it gets stuck in hell. Sometimes it gets stuck in these realities where we allow our consciousness, our Christ consciousness, to fall into fear. So then we become the Antichrist and we fall into these fear realities where we live in that for millions and millions of years. And then other times we're in this blissful joy of heavenly realms for millions and millions of years. But the spark is eternal and it goes forever. And it's what many times we have called the spark, or we have called it the spark is coupled with the eternal flame. So individuals may want to say, please allow me to feel my spark inside. And if you don't have your spark inside, you need to ask your spark to come back and ask that your eternal flame burn bright within you, because those two things will keep you alive and well for much more than you could ever possibly imagine, much more years than you could ever possibly imagine. The spark and the light within you are the two things that keep you alive.
I read something about that, and I think it might be something I'll be talking about tomorrow.
Oh,
How you can literally kill yourself by being dragged down into the muck and staying there. But if you can elevate yourself up out of that into a joyous experience of experiencing life, you'll live so much longer, so much longer. So yeah, very interesting. That's I'm gonna have to listen to that again, Marisa, tonight, because I hear it now. I kind of understand it, but boy, it usually takes me a second time to hear it.
Me too.
To really understand it. So
yeah,
anyway,
I don't understand
okay.
things that I say. So that's the thing, is like everyone's like, oh, Marisa knows so much. I'm like, no, I don't really know anything. I'm like, the fact that I can understand what I say is like
Right.
pretty impressive to me. But I mean, half the time I'm like, huh? Let's rewind that. Hold on. Let me take notes.
That's
So
right.
yeah, I'm definitely in trance when I'm saying this stuff, because the second I start listening, I start second guessing, and then I start stuttering, and then I say So whenever you hear me say that means my brain has come in, because I'm the queen of I say too much.
That's right. Yeah, you don't use that when you're channeling. You don't use
Yeah.
and hesitate. Rarely do you hesitate. But anyway,
Yeah.
okay, we've run a little bit long again today. We're at
Those were some good lessons. I liked those.
Yeah, it was. It really was. So anyway, we'll probably have another similar lesson to this again tomorrow. A little bit about the physical worlds in the universe. But then I think we're going to be ready for the Jesus Resurrection on Sunday. So
Yay.
that show might run 2 hours again, like the crucifixion did. But we'll see. We'll play it. We'll play it by ear.
Resurrect to everybody, or did he just resurrect to like a couple people?
No, he experienced, according to the Bible, he experienced 500 different people. He was here for 40 days, and 500 different people experienced him in his spirit form that looked human. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to get into that, because I'm looking forward to hearing what the Urantia story is on that. And even though I've read this book twice from beginning to end, I still don't remember it all.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying this story as much as anybody else out there that's
you go into channeling mode, and Jesus is coming through your field, so you probably don't remember much of what you say during the show. And one thing I find interesting, just real quick, is 40 days. That's interesting, because when people pass away, I always tell them I can't connect with them for like 5 days after they pass, because then I risk them going into my field and getting stuck in my field, like as a dead person inside my field, and I don't want that. And I could get sick from whatever they died from, or have injuries or whatever. But I always say, but after 5 days, they'll be back for 40 days, and they'll be here for 40 days so that you can communicate with them and talk to them and say sorry or resolve whatever you need to resolve, because they'll be able to hear you. So that's interesting that the guides have said that people stay for 40 days, and he stayed for 40 days.
Yeah, he was here for 40 days and then he left. But I'm anxious to get into that part of the story
Yeah.
too. But I felt like we needed a little bit of a schooling education here between the crucifixion and the resurrection. So we'll get to it. We'll have a little more education tomorrow, and then Sunday we'll get back into the main story itself and see how it goes. See how
Okay.
it goes. So thank you. If you talk to Holly again, tell her it was nice to see her again. And
Wants to move
I
out.
apologize.
Wants to move over here. They're thinking about moving over here instead of being in
Good.
Arizona. Yeah.
They should.
She's a
They
good
should
mom.
be nice.
Kids love her.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Be nice to have you guys in the same place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make it easier for me when I come and visit you.
Yeah.
Dates wise, I think I'm kind of looking at around February 9th or 10th, somewhere in there, to coming back to San Diego, and I haven't heard anything on the office, but I'm under the assumption we're going to have to clean that place out. So if you could come and help me and
Yep.
pack up stuff and
Don't
get
have to
it
twist
into
my
the
arm
storage.
to make me go to Carlsbad and Encinitas.
Okay. Yeah, because we can always meet at the condo. It doesn't have to be
Mhm.
the office anymore.
Mhm.
Now that we're being able to do this
Virtually.
through the distance, yeah, it's kind of taken that need for that
Yeah.
office out of my world. So anyway, we'll see what happens. But anyway, go
Right.
have your dinner. Give the kiddos a hug for me,
I will.
and be sure to push your cute little puppy right down into his mess so he knows he's not supposed to do it there.
Oh, my
You know,
carpet
drop
stinks so bad.
maybe put a piece of paper or something in the corner where you push him like that, and then you'll put him on the paper. So
Mm.
maybe he'll start going on the paper if you don't want to put him outside.
So bad.
He's so small. He's so small. He'll get under the gate and run away.
I know. I know there's little holes. So yeah, I need to be careful. So anyways, all
Yeah.
right. Okay. Love you, Papa. Bye, everybody. I
Okay.
will see you
Love you
guys
too.
tomorrow. I'll be here.
Okay.
I
Good.
love these every day. Okay. Love
Great.
you, Papa. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
How do I get out of here? There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay, folks, that was it for today. Uh, Marissa Morris and Joe Morris from Answers Heaven Speaks. Let me pull back in a little bit here. And this is crazy stuff. This is just crazy stuff. And I know it's very hard to understand. But every day we have some kind of lesson. There's something there. There's something there that carries us forward. And I really appreciate all you folks that stay the whole time. I know that a lot of you probably just jump over the story and go right to Marissa and love to hear what her channeling are. But I also know there's a lot of you that are watching and following the story as well. So anyway, have yourself a great Thursday night and a great Friday. We're coming up on the weekend. We're going to have some football this weekend. So I'm going to watch my Chargers on Saturday, and I'm going to do a show here on Sunday. So I'll miss some good games on Sunday, but nevertheless, that's life. Have fun. Have fun. That's what it says. Have fun. Have humor and stay above the muck and the mire and be happy and joyous. And you'll even live longer. So anyway, okay, thanks again. Joe Morris, Answers Heaven Speaks. Great Thursday night. Have a great Friday. And God willing, we'll be back here again tomorrow for another part of the story. So you take care. God bless.